Welcome to Black Sheep.
Hi there, I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. I'm a local yarn shop and we cater to knitters and crocheters. We have knitting classes, we have crochet classes beginning actually April 5th. So if you, I think the afternoon class might be full. There is a morning class from 10 to 12. So if you're interested in learning to crochet, if you're a beginner crocheter, even if you're more advanced, she'll teach you whatever you need to know. So call us and sign up because it starts, it's the 5th next week? Goodness, yes. I believe it is.
I think it is.
Also on April 5th is a national, maybe it's international, Knit for Food. And we're doing Knit for Food from 3 to 5 that afternoon. And we would like you to come and knit with us. And we would like you to make a donation. I did not make a specific portal for Black Sheep Knitting, but there are lots of others that you can, or you can just donate to them. But there are other groups, knitting groups, that have made their own group, and you can donate to them. But if you come in to knit, we would ask you to make a minimum donation of $5 and hopefully more to Knit for Food. But they're, you know, World Central Kitchen, No Kid Goes Hungry. I forget the others, but if you, I can't remember anything lately. You hear me complain about that all the time, but it's true. Anyway, you'll see what it is. But they're worthy causes. It's hard to believe that in this day and age there are kids who go hungry. But there are kids who go hungry, I'm sure, in most of our communities. So if you would like to come and sit with us and celebrate, I don't know if it's celebrate raising money for these causes, please come in and make your donation. You can do them all online. And like I said, they would have to trust you that you did it. But even just a minimum of $5. Apparently, $5 feeds a lot of kids in one day. If you look at their website, I think it tells you how many kids can get fed with just your $5 donation. Other things that are coming up are, we have workshops, and I can mention those in a minute, but they're all online. We also have on, now I can't remember, April 26th is Local Yarn Shop Day. So we're going to have some specials here and some sales and maybe some prizes. I'm not sure. But come and celebrate that you have a local yarn shop, because there are certainly many communities where yarn shops have closed, sadly. So we are vibrant, we're busy, we hope not to close ever, or in any of our lifetimes. I hope when I'm ready to retire, somebody will pop up and buy it and keep it going. But come and celebrate with us. It will be fun. I wanted today to show you what I'm knitting. So I caught the bug. Oh, well, yeah, I'll do this first. And I may have shown this last week, but this is a great pattern. And it's well written and easy to understand. And I think I showed it. It's the plain yoke tee. But the nice thing about this pattern is there's plain yoke tee 20, which means it's a worsted gauge or a 5 to the inch gauge, or plain yoke tee 22, which is a DK 5.5 stitches to the inch. I'm using a yarn called Iris from Barocco, and I understand it's been so popular that I think they're out at the distributor at the company, but they're due to get more April 15th. We have a lot, and in other colors. Yeah, get a few colors. Robin's going to get a few out to show us. This is fun because it has, the increases are in the yoke, and that seems to be what a lot of people are doing these days. I love doing this because I love the yarn so much. And I'm on my favorite, one of my favorite needles, which are the Addie lace needles. And I don't know that a lot of people buy Addie yarns or needles so much now. Chow Gu seems to be popular, but I love these needles. So they tend to discolor over time, and as soon as you start using them, the shine comes back up and the color goes away. It doesn't do anything to your yarn, so it's not a big deal. But let me just show you again some of the colors for this. This is, again, Buttercup. I think I showed these, but I'll just show you again. This is
Really feels
Blue
great.
Edge, but it's soft. Let me tell you what's in it again.
Do this.
Cotton, bamboo, merino, and yak. So it's really a delightful yarn to knit with. And then we have this rust color that is called Sunset. This one I think is really interesting because it's called Blush, but I think because it is spun with yak, which yak is, it's only a small percentage, but yak is a brown fiber, and so you get these tinges of a darker color in it, which is the yak. You can't see it so much in the other colors, but you can in the one that's called Whisper White.
Plus it's chain knit,
And it's a chain net.
so you can sort of see where it's.
Yeah, but this one you can really see the pink on the pink one. Makes it really interesting, I think. And then we have Platinum. And I like this color, taupe.
Me too.
It's called, Robin wants to use it, it's called Rodeo. But to me it's taupe. And I think it's a very sort of classic, pretty color. And finally, we have in this one, I think you can see some of the brown of the yak in it also, is Fanciful. Gorgeous, deep, deep lavender. Love it. Okay, so, and I always have several projects going at the same time. So I caught the Alpine Bloom bug, and if you haven't yet, I recommend it highly. And because, the reason I recommend it, but I just want to say, on mine, I've eliminated this lace, and I'm not going to do it here. Somehow, to me, it interferes with this design, and I think it needs a clean, a palette that's just plain, not, it doesn't have lace on it. So I've eliminated that. But what is drawing me to it is, of course, the Dyed in the Wool from Spin Cycle. And as I watched people, because we have a knit along on Saturday afternoons, and people are doing the Alpine lace, I was looking at all of the ones that are going, and I was so taken with how beautiful the Dyed in the Wool comes out. And so I thought about it a lot, and we have this new yarn which is called North Bay Fibers, which is 100% Cormo wool. It's a non-superwash, which I'm really drawn to these days, and it knits up really beautifully. But I'll show you what, this is the color I chose, and honestly I can't remember the colorway. Maybe I have it here. I think it's Overboard. It's this one. And I thought this was really pretty. I began, because the flowers start at the top, or what looks like floral. So I pulled from the purple side to start. And this is what it's going to look like. And so instead of the lace, I just am doing a plain rolled stockinette. So it'll require a little bit of blocking because right now it's rolling too far over. But I loved all the colors in this for sort of spring, a springy, summery top to wear. And oh, by the way, it is wool, but I tend to wear wool in the summer sometimes, particularly if I'm going to be sitting here in the shop where the air conditioning is on. I'll want that. And this is a sport weight. And I also like to knit with fingering weight wool as well. I wear a lot of little tops that are wool or have mohair in them. This colorway I don't have out. I forgot.
Frost.
Frost. Thank you. I knew that.
Summer.
This is the North Bay Fibers Frost. I thought I would choose some other options. And as I look at this, I don't love the color that I picked to go with. This is called Sugar High, the dyed in the wool. I chose this. Now I don't like it because I don't think it's, I don't know. So I think I would put it with Jiggin. Jiggin. I think that's a really pretty one. And I have another one that I was going to do that with, but oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do. This one is Lotus. That would work with it. And I also chose Space Odyssey. Look at that for a summer top. So fun. I have this green that I think is so pretty. Green Cottage with Water Witch. And you honestly can't see how beautiful these yarns are until you get up close. You can see, but in the skein it's hard to see, and then when you wind it and you start knitting with it, they're such a surprise. Yeah, like as you can see in here, all the colors that are going to come up. So for color work, I could do that with this also. I also chose Bayshore with Mississippi Masala, and it's got some of the blues. It's fun. It's more of a fall. I wouldn't say this is kind of a summer thing. And oh, by the way, you could you can always make a short sleeve top convert it into a long sleeve, and you start by doing. You can start by doing the sleeve here, and then you would probably have it on holders while you did the rest of the top. You can go back to that, and I would try it on and see how it fits you, but you'll want to do decreases as you go down, and you'll have to either measure it against another sweater that you have or keep trying it on. And the rule of thumb is to do 2 increases, so it's decreases, excuse me, and they're on either side of one central stitch, and do it every 8 rows going down, and then just keep checking to see how narrow you want your circumference to be, and then do whatever kind of cuff that you want.
I love this one. Show this next.
So Robin loves this one. So this is called Natural. This is an undyed color, and this one is Stay Ready. I love this. But as I looked at it, I thought, well, is it going to look good in that pattern? I think it will. I think it's fun.
Sure.
I have this one, which I love, called Deep Dive.
Do that with that too.
And you could do this with it. You could do this one, Mississippi Masala. And I picked out
That's fun.
this, which is called Kyoto, which I think would be really fun. And again, as you look at these more closely, this one is much more monochromatic than any of the others that I've seen. Most of them have random colors in them. So this I think I already showed. This is Sugar High but with jigging. I did show that. And what did I pull out this one for? This one would be really, this is called Overboard, which is what I'm using in mine in Green Cottage. You could, that would be really pretty.
Or the frost again.
And then I have it, that's what I'm doing it with frost. You could do, oh, look at that.
Beautiful.
Isn't that pretty?
Mm.
Very pretty.
Okay.
So, those are some choices for you. I have Robin here, and Robin, obviously she's here because she's videotaping, but she's going to sit down.
She lives here.
And she lives here. Yeah. She's going to sit down and talk to you about this wonderful pattern from Thea Coleman.
Hi, Nance.
Hey,
Good
how are
morning.
you?
I'm
How
okay,
are
thank you. I was away for 2 weeks in California. It was really fun.
Oh, you're lucky.
Sorta.
You
The
had
weather
a little
was
bit of a tan.
No,
I'm
the
jealous.
weather was terrible.
Oh, was it?
If I go, it's guaranteed there's going to be beautiful weather there until the minute I
Get
land.
there. And
Then it's
it'll be
going to rain
gorgeous
and
here.
it'll be gorgeous here, and then it's going to rain, and then. But as soon as my plane leaves LAX, I
Right.
look down, sun
Sun.
comes out. Just it's like a guarantee for sure.
Right.
Anyway, I have been working on a pattern that you required me to do because
We wanted
You're
a
a
sample for the
torturer.
shop.
okay, so no, if you wanted a sample of Thea Coleman's Potato Vodka, and I'll put up the pattern. But what really drew me, her description, I thought was very cool. She is, her ancestors, like mine, come from Ukraine or Eastern Europe, and there's a picture, and I will put it up, that she shows
of her family.
family. I mean, it's some way back when in the
Yeah.
old country, and they're wearing sweaters that she used as the inspiration for this pattern. So Nancy thought it was really cool. It is, and asked me to make it a couple weeks ago. Okay, maybe 3. At
She
this
knits
point.
pretty fast.
Yes, but
I
not
have to
this.
say.
This is not
was
a
more of a
fast
challenge for
knit.
you.
This was a lot more of a challenge. So this is so far my progress. I don't know if it can be seen on Thea Coleman's. It's not a vest. It's there's the back, and there are these great little pockets which you begin. Actually, you make those first.
Oh, how
And
cute.
then pick it up. It really is cute. Do you want to say something about it? And then it's attached at the shoulders here.
Oh, this is a really fun
Detail.
way to detail on the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And this is done with the LRA Classic Wool.
Which is this color.
This in this
And-
beautiful
and
charcoal, almost
I did
black.
not. We are out of the tobacco, which is what I used for the
Okay.
contrast. But we have so many
So we used
super pretty colors.
the Monos Marla,
I
which
can
is
put
this
out more.
gorgeous. What is the
Variegated.
word? Variegated,
But
but
it's
it's
beautiful.
another. It's a 2-ply. There's a word for it, but it's of course not coming to me.
It's beautiful. I mean, look at
It's
some of the
beautiful, and it's
combinations that you can
super
do.
soft.
Whew.
It's 100% superwash merino, and the gauge is 20 to 23 stitches over 4 inches.
I did
So-
find that this was just a tiny bit thinner
Yes,
than this. But having said that, it
worked out fine.
it worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
I mean, the detail, it really does. How would I describe the pattern?
Are there slip stitches in it?
There are a lot. It's slip stitch
Slip
mosaic.
stitch,
Thank
okay.
you. Yes,
Slip
that's
stitch
what I-
mosaic. So don't be
Yes.
afraid that you're going to get into something that's really difficult.
No,
to
it's not.
do.
I think if anything was difficult, it's just lining up. When you get to well, there are 2 tricky parts. One is picking up the stitches
For the pocket.
for the pocket, and then picking up the band. Because when you pick up the band, you want to be really careful not to pick up any extraneous,
Right,
contrast color.
right.
So
And the thing about picking up a band, you can always rip it out and go back.
which I did 4 times, got tendinitis, and had to take 4 days off.
Well, we hope you don't have
I
to
know,
do that.
Really true. And I also, another tip for this particular pattern, and maybe on a lot of cardigans is that I wet blocked the sweater
Before you picked up.
Yes, because
That's
then it
brilliant.
wasn't
Yeah.
bunchy.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
was nice and flat, and
Right.
I could actually see my selvage
Did they
edge.
give you a formula of
No,
pick up 3 out of 4
no,
stitches?
not for this. She just says pick up 139,
Okay.
and then pick up 30 whatever on the back, and then the
'Cause
139.
what I like to do is generally I do 3 out of 4. So every 4th stitch, I leave one. So
I had to pick up every
3,
stitch I could
skip
see.
1, 3. Okay.
I couldn't. It was just the
So-
way it worked out for this.
Yeah.
I picked up every stitch I could see, and I thought, what's the worst thing? I have more stitches, and then I do some decreasing.
By the way, this if you hold it up again,
Nancy
this
picked these
this
great
is not
buttons.
a vest. It gets sleeves, and I wanted to show you if you can see the buttons that we chose for it. So they just pick up the reddish orange that's in there. So I thought that would be a fun.
And we have some
Fun.
great other buttons
And we
too
have
that we
lots of,
debated. So lots of
And we've
options
gotten
on
new
that.
buttons in. I actually have more new ones that we haven't even put out because we're
Because it's too difficult to do.
no, we're missing the tubes for them.
Right, the tubes will come.
So-
And I'm going to put in a quick plug for this Nij, N-I-I-J,
This is what Robin is wearing.
which is
You have to show
Eri Shimizu.
Shimizu. Yeah.
And it's just got this
Look at
great,
this great detail here.
raglan. So it's like a
really
very
fun.
wide raglan that comes down, connects in the back, and then underneath.
Very fun.
So I think it's really fun, and I would do it again
You do it in that.
in the iris.
Fun.
I think for the summer it would be really
Yeah.
fun to do. And I have probably a few sweaters. Nancy has a few sweaters. This is the one that I just go for every single day.
Yeah.
I like the way it fits.
Sometimes you just find a sweater that the pattern is perfect.
And you love
That fits you, and there's a million ways you can knit one pattern.
Right.
And you can do funky sleeves. You can in different colors. You can add a cable on a sleeve. You can add a big cable down the front if you want. You can stripe it, and there are a billion ways to do different stripes. You can do different colors in the same size stripe. You can do different lengths of your stripes. You can do all kinds,
of different things.
fun things. The same pattern will look very different. You can do color blocking. I saw one. Where did I see it? Can't remember. I saw one that was color blocked, big blocks here, and then different colors here. So you'd have to do intarsia, which is simply
Not hard.
when you're going across with one color, you pick up the other color and you cross them over each other so that you don't get a hole, and then you knit that color.
I'll put up a picture, but what I saw somebody knit, I think it was a test knitter for Eri on this. She did the sweater in either black or navy, and all the insect, see there's different rows
Yeah.
in the raglan, was different.
Different colors? Or
Yeah,
different...
it was
Really?
a contrast.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how she did it,
How cool.
but it
Yeah.
went all the way under and around, and it was just super
Fun.
cute.
Oh,
And I'll
look it up and
I
look
will
at
put
the
it up. I'll put the picture up.
sample. So you do know on Ravelry that you can look at the projects that other people have done.
And speaking of Ravelry,
And we're having Ravelry workshop, which I'll talk about in a second, or a couple minutes. It's always wise before you pick a pattern that you look at the projects that other people have done. And I've said before, if you pick a pattern that was published in 2019 and only 2 people have done it, you should think twice about doing that. The best ones to choose are the tried and true ones that people have, many people have knit. And then you can look at their individual, don't look at the place that says comments. You want to look at the individual person's project that they posted, and then look at their comment, and you can see it within that. If you open it up or click on it, you can see what they had to say. And they could say the gauge was a little off. They could say any kind of thing that relates to the pattern. So it's always wise to do that. And make sure we do have people who come into the shops shop with patterns that we barely have heard of or seen, and we've certainly seen a ton, and they haven't really done their homework. And you can run into trouble because there are no standards for what gets put up on Ravelry. And you might want to be critical of that. But the reality is it's two women who run Ravelry. They're geniuses having put this thing together. And they would not have any way to check all the patterns because anybody can put up a pattern. So your best insurance to get the best pattern, or one that is well written and works, is to look at what other people have done.
Giavanna will really get into that, I'm sure. For this pattern, for example, nobody got gauge, and
Really?
It's a worsted weight yarn. It calls for a worsted weight yarn. This is a worsted weight yarn. However, she says 13 stitches over 4 in the pattern. Well,
You sure she didn't say 2? Maybe?
no, she says 13. I mean, I can look it up again, and you can
Weird.
look it up. So that, and nobody got gauge.
But what that means is that maybe
big
she
needle.
wanted, no, but maybe she wanted a big open
Neat with a bigger
loose
needle.
stitch.
Right.
And I had this discussion with a customer the other day, who I think was maybe a little unfamiliar with gauge. But she said, can't you just keep trying needles till you get the gauge? And isn't it fine once you get the gauge? Well, the issue is it's not, because certain yarns are meant to be knit at a certain gauge. If you look at, for instance, this is one that is a light, actually I call it a light DK, and of course you would do a gauge, but they're saying 22 to 24, so it's actually between a DK and a sport. Well, it depends on how tight you want that fabric to be. The tighter the fabric, the stiffer it becomes. So if you're using too small a needle and it becomes a really stiff fabric, it's not a good idea. They're telling you this is the ideal gauge to knit this yarn. So if you don't get the gauge on a size 6 needle and you keep going, up or down, but it makes the wrong fabric, that's a bad idea. So it gets complicated, and you just really need to understand gauge, which reminds me, we probably should do another workshop that's just specifically gauge and all. And I think, have we done that? Did Giavanna do one?
You did a make it fit. So
Oh yeah, that's different in a way. It's just, it can be very tricky, and different yarns make different fabrics. So you always want your fabric to show off the best attributes of that yarn. Like this, you can't see through it, it doesn't have holes, it's not too tight or too stiff, and that's ideally what you want. If you can see gaping holes in your yarn, double check on your pattern. Did the designer want it to be that way? I mean, maybe you can see sweaters that are knit big, loose kind of open stitches, and that's a particular style. But make sure that's the style that it's meant to be. And I realized I didn't mention what I'm wearing. I'm wearing Even Dune from Kate Davies, who I really love. And I put together a mohair and a fingering weight. And I was going to check the gauge on this just for fun, because we were kind of talking about what happens when you add mohair to something. So I'm going to take my handy little gauge, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. So not only did it add, because I was on a fingering weight, it added, and I can't see through it. I think it made it so that I could knit it on a much larger needle. And I think, this just occurred to me now, that when you add a mohair, it fills in the spaces between the stitches. So you can use a bigger needle. Does that make sense to you?
It makes total sense because typically you think of the fingering as
Putting
being,
a lace weight with a fingering that you wouldn't get a very
decay, but you're saying you're really getting more like a heavy
between
worsted.
a worsted, yeah. So, and I think that was the
But you used a bigger needle too.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it allowed
Yeah,
you to
yeah.
use the bigger needle.
allowed me to use the bigger needle
'Cause
and
it
get
fills
a
in the
bigger
little holes.
gauge, which I was thrilled because I think that's what the I think that's what her gauge was. Well, because it fits, and
Yeah, it
I
looks great.
love it to death. I would make this is a pattern I would make over and over again.
So, I wanted to mention the upcoming workshops. We have Fixing Basics, which has 7 spots in it. It's Saturday, May 24th from 1 to 3. And these are with Giavanna. And we have, sorry, I'm looking through my,
Advanced Ravelry.
we have Advanced Ravelry,
It's the
which
13th.
is April 13th, and that's a Sunday, 11 to 1. So lock that in. It's not a Saturday workshop. It's Sunday. And what else do we have? Finishing
It's almost sold out.
Finishing Basics. And it's one available. So sign up fast if you want to do that. And it's so good to learn to do good finishing. Nothing can spoil a beautifully knit sweater by putting it together poorly. So you really want to learn that. And the technical series of tubular cast on and bind off, which is a really, really good one. It's full. However, call the shop because I can guarantee you this one, well, is March 29th, which is this Saturday. But people drop out, and they drop out at last minute. So call the shop, put your name on a wait list, and give them your phone number, the best number to reach you. For any of these workshops, if they're full, we often get people off wait lists. And when they have been announced, especially if they've been announced a little bit in advance, well, not a little bit, in advance, like 3 weeks before, people come up with things that, things happen. So they could conflict with that date and they want to drop out. Be sure to get your name on a wait list. I think that may be all I have to say. I'm kind of running out of time. So the shop is about to open, so I need to get myself in gear here. Once again, I thank you for watching. I thank you for their comments. Oh, someone asked, and I think these are correct, but I don't know for sure. Someone asked what were the colors in the felted tweed in my Douglas Cardi. I believe these are the ones, but I took the Cardi home because I wore it. So this is Maritime. This is Scree, which is one of my favorites in felted tweed. And you can tell these were my favorites. I love this one. Watery. And then for the black,
Petrol?
no, this is Seafarer. I think that's what it was because it picks up. I remember it has little blue specks and it picks up those. So I think those were the 4 colors that I used. It was a great, fun knit, and I love to wear it. So have a great week of knitting. Make yourself knit a little bit every day. I don't have to make myself. I can't live without knitting every day. My latest favorite thing to be watching while I'm knitting is Midsummer Murders, which streams on Amazon Prime. And I looked the other day to see how many seasons there were, because it's one that you don't have to follow a lot, but they're always well done. The acting is decent, and there's always a murder mystery. But I looked the other day, and I want to say, unless I read it wrong, there were 45 seasons. I don't think it could be right.
Let's
Can't
do
be
3
right.
seasons a year.
Right, so that couldn't be, but it's there's a lot. I'm going to double check that number because I think they might still be producing them.
That's your midsummer.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Midsummer is a place in England. But that's a fun one if you're looking for something to watch. If you've run out of all your podcasts and you're waiting for their next ones to come up, that's a good thing to watch. So take care, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.